you've generated quite a bit of buzz, man. And it's like, I don't know if you can relate or if you can say that it's been like that before the Fyre Fest 1.0 fiasco, but I feel like you're kind of naturally good at this, at being able to build up hype. Right?
I think every time I felt like I'm losing my sanity, I would hear the screams or cries of someone who actually was going insane.
Damn.
Okay.
And like that was almost like a snap back to reality where it's like, oh shit, like I can't be like that. Like listen to what can actually happen here. Like this shit's not a joke. And I actually think that like
It kept you focused.
as sad as it was, it provided focus.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
All right, welcome back to the Venture Hustles podcast. This is Saj and Jack. We are your co-hosts of the show. Our guest today is a man whose name you may recognize. He's been on a journey that has taken him from the heights of entrepreneurial success to the depths of legal troubles and back again with lessons learned along the way. He is a visionary, a risk taker, and a man who, despite everything, continues to dream big. Known for Fyre Festival and Magnesis, he's now working on a new project named Pirate. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Billy McFarland to our show.
What's going on, guys? Thank you. And Saj, we met almost 10 years ago now in the Magnesis days, so I'm sure you're going to take an approach here that very few have.
Yeah.
I'm pumped to be here.
Thank you for making time for us, man. It's
thanks
our
for coming
pleasure.
down.
Yeah, 100%. And we did meet almost, Jack was asking me, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing we talked about was it's been a long time. How old are you?
I'm 31.
We're the same age, dude.
Scary, right?
Oh, yeah.
do you feel different yet, or do you still feel the same as you did 10 years ago?
I feel like you feel the same.
Yeah.
I feel different.
You feel different?
I feel like I'm a lot more centered now, man. I'm a lot more tactical with my approaches in business, and I feel like I've matured so much. I used to be a lot more reckless. I'm sure you can relate.
For sure.
But I feel like you've still got that youth. I see your social posts and shit like that. You've still got that energy. And I was talking to Jack. I was like, dude, I think, because when we met, you were kind of like chill. You were partying. You were like, I don't know. You're cool. You're still a cool dude. But it was like, I don't know. How do you feel?
I just meet with like entrepreneurs in their young 20s every so often now. I'm just so jealous of their like youthful exuberance and like naive approach towards everything. And I feel like there is some kind of magic when you're like 23, you haven't really failed yet in life, and you just feel like you can do anything.
That's Mr. Jack right there.
Yeah.
Nice. How old are you, Jack?
25.
There you go. So you're
Yeah,
right.
man.
Yeah, I don't need to tell you. You're right. You're right in the midst of it. But
We do our best.
enjoy it, and like that's when the best magic in life has a chance of happening. So when you have that wind behind you, when you're just like totally fearless, go for it, because you have no idea like what the limits are, and you can kind of set your own limits.
100%.
Dude, you are on a wild, like uncharted territory when you're in your 20s, especially in your early mid 20s. Like you have no idea what life has in store for you. So you're basically just in exploration mode, and that's, I'm sure like you can relate to that. And he's in that phase. And like we talk about finance, money, goals, and ambitions, and I look at him like, dude, you're a baby in the world.
Yeah,
you know.
amazing.
Yeah. But
we do our best here, you know. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could kind of like get going with you know, some of the key things we want to hit. Like I think right now you're working on Pirate is like your main thing, right?
Yeah, so doing a lot of media stuff.
Okay.
Filming a couple of TV shows. The next doc is coming out sometime in the fall, so check that out.
Really?
Yes.
Anywhere that's publicly available, something that you're producing?
I'm not producing, so signed to a production company who's handling all of it. And
Okay.
then I'm not sure what streaming service it's going to be on, but I'm sure I'll be on one of the majors sometime this fall.
It's gonna release in fall?
Release the fall, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Is that about what's been happening since?
They basically started filming me days after getting out of jail. And
Really?
it's like getting out of jail and kind of getting back to life.
Wow.
And I think kind of following the shattered dreams and hopes and like attempt to rebuild, where I thought like I would leave jail and everybody from my past life would come and like welcome me home, and like was far from the reality. So
Yeah.
it was like totally starting from scratch. And Like literally, my family gave me $200 in 20s in like a Timberland wallet and said like, "Go get them. Don't spend it all in one place." A New York dinner costs like $300 now, like after COVID. So, dude, started from scratch and trying to make it all happen.
So if anybody doesn't really know, Billy just also announced, and tell me if I'm incorrect about this, but you announced Fyre Fest 2, that you're planning on doing this. There's nothing set in stone yet, but I'm sure like you're planning on developing that.
So we thought we had this great idea where we were approached by this incredible production company to do a Broadway musical.
Okay.
And like call it Fyre the Musical, where it will be part story of all the crazy shit from Magnesis and Spling and Fyre and everything that happened, and part like irrelevant music where we would book real music artists to do like their Broadway songs.
Okay.
So I was so excited. I literally just tweeted saying Fyre Festival 2 is finally happening, thinking Fyre Festival 2 is going to be this Broadway play. And it's created an entire media storm with one tweet and $0 in marketing spend. And now all these like massive partners came out of nowhere. It's like, hey, we want to execute Fyre 2. We will pay you a shitload of money and we'll handle everything. So it's like, fuck. Now the Broadway musical, which is happening, is Fyre 1.5. And Fyre 2 will be according to the original vision.
Wow. Well, I'm sure that was pretty refreshing, huh? Considering everything else you just mentioned, that you had, Timberland wallet, $200, and now you announced this, and then you have partners now coming to you. That's awesome.
I mean, you've generated quite a bit of buzz, man, and it's like, I don't know if you can relate or if you can say that it's been like that before the Fyre Fest 1.0 fiasco, but I feel like you're kind of naturally good at this, at being able to build up hype, right? Would you say you're a marketer?
Definitely a marketer.
Okay.
And so much has changed. And like, it did take me a couple months to catch up and learn. I think we kind of pioneered like the early influencer marketing with Fyre 1, where we had 400 people at the exact same time post this ambiguous orange tile and kind of create that buzz. I think that world of influencer marketing is fairly dead.
Yeah.
Where we are so accustomed to seeing the celebrities that we follow post branded ads that we now just ignore it. And like, this is now 7 years later, right? So shit has just changed, and it's become really difficult and really different to cut through the noise. And it's almost like less produced content, more organic shit just like needs to happen to get through all the noise, instead of paying some A-list celebrity to talk about your brand.
I mean, how 100%. Many years ago are we talking about? This is what, like 5, 6 years ago?
7 years ago was the festival announcement, and 6 years since the festival was supposed to happen.
Everything that you had centered around that was purely like, almost like you had a tactical organic plus inorganic approach when it comes to marketing, right? And just the influencer approach, the hype that you generate around it, the names that were circulating around that festival was insane. I remember that one of the events that I don't think I attended, but like you had like a Ja Rule concert showing like a performance, and then it made sense, and I saw the name associated to the event, and we're talking even years before that. So you were building that network up, right?
For sure.
Like Magnesis days, early days, as you were kind of building that up, and then you announced Fyre Fest like 2-3 years after. Correct?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is that we woke up one day in an island and said, all right, we're doing Fyre Festival, and the whole world listened. It just took years and years of eating shit and building and failing in a lot of small ways to get to the point where we could make that moment happen.
You went in, when you were sentenced, you went into jail for what? The sentencing was 6 years?
6 year sentence, yeah.
You got out in 4?
Served like just over 4, so around 4 years, yeah.
Okay.
And we'll get to the interesting solitary confinement.
Wild, man.
That was wild, but you've been out of the picture for 4 years, basically blind from social media, have no idea. I mean, that was your world. You've built a hype, built a brand, built everything around it. When you came out and you saw TikTok and all these crazy other things that pop off now, what was your initial take, like from a marketer that built these things around that? And you look at the landscape now of social media and influencers in today's society, especially in light of your experiences, what do you say?
So I went to like solitary confinement 2 years in for trying to do a podcast over the prison payphone.
Is that what happened?
Which is
I was
like,
so curious about that.
We could talk about that, and it was like so stupid in so many ways. But part of the punishment, even after solitary, was they took away all my communication. So I didn't have a phone for 2 years. I didn't see friends or family for 2 years. And all I just like wanted was like getting out. I just wanted to be back on a cell phone. So like I remember getting back in the car and like getting back on an iPhone. I'm like, holy shit, the world is literally my oyster. And every time I'm having like a bad moment right now, it's like, fuck, dude, I literally have a computer in my pocket that can connect me with any single person around the world instantly. And for 2 years in jail, I was begging for a payphone, and now I have this. And like, that really helps keep me going.
So what does it look like? Like you're in a room for 2 fucking years? Like how shit or great is solitary confinement?
So I did 10 months in solitary, but then even after I got out, they still wouldn't let me use the phones or anything like that. So like the punishment carried over.
Why was the punishment of, like, why were you in solitary confinement for so long?
So I went twice. I went once for 3 months for actually breaking the rules. I had like a USB device. I was trying to record a book. Clearly against the rules. Like,
how did you get it in there?
Clearly stupid. I can't say that.
Okay. Okay. Fair.
Okay.
No, but any questions on the table?
What you got busted?
But so went to the solitary for having the USB device. I was fucked up. I was wrong. I'm like, that at least that time was doable because it mentally made sense. It's like I'm sitting there. It's like, okay, I broke the rules. And the rules have a punishment attached to them, correct? Like, I'm supposed to be here. The second time, it really just destroyed me mentally because it's like, I didn't break the rules, but now I'm in solitary, and now I'm in solitary for 7 months straight, and I have no idea what's going to happen to me, and like, the PTSD from that is like,
I was just going to mention, like, what is that even like? I mean, being in, I mean, we're not talking about a day or even a week. I mean, 7 whole months when you're in, you know, solitary confinement. It's just a small room by yourself for, what is it, 24 hours a day or?
Yeah, so you were supposed to be able to go into like a cage outside for 1 hour a day, but COVID was a great excuse to shut that down. So 1 hour a week, I could leave the solitary cell to like a 10 by 10 cage outside, whereas concrete walls and then like a barbed wire fence, but at least you could see the sky. So 1 hour a week, I could see the sky.
Wow. You survived prison, dude.
Yeah,
you kind of did. I mean, so were you like, how'd you kill time?
So reading, but the bad thing was you were only allowed to have 2 books a week, and it sounds like a lot right now, but when you have nothing else to do, you literally wake up and you're just like stuck there. You know, you read a book a day, even if you're not like a big reader. And it was like so crazy how you try to accumulate more books, and they would like punish you by like taking your books away. So like literally there's nothing to do. And I just like I read Mike Tyson's memoir when I first got to jail, before I was in solitary. And he talked about his time in solitary. He talked about how he would run in place for 2 hours every single day. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to be like Mike Tyson.
Is that what you did?
I literally just like run in place, and the guards thought I was batshit crazy. Like they'd walk by every 15 minutes to make sure I was still alive. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is he doing? Like
anything.
McFarland is still just like jumping up and down like a moron in there.
Did you ever have moments in there where you felt like you were losing it?
I think every time I felt like I'm losing my sanity, I would hear the screams or cries of someone who actually was going insane.
Damn.
And like that was almost like a snap back to reality where it's like, oh shit, like I can't be like that. Like listen to what can actually happen here. Like this shit's not a joke. And I actually think that like
so it kept you focused.
As sad as it was, it provided focus, and it was almost like one of those things where you're trying to fall asleep and it just like buzzes you back to being awake.
Wow.
In some weird way, like the downfall of others, you know, help maintain that mental clarity.
I mean, what a crazy outlook, even just on that.
That was one of the biggest things I wanted to ask you, was like your experience in there. Because like, man, you never know in life what might happen to you, and you know, God forbid, everybody stays safe and you know, secure. And that's an experience that only a few people can kind of go through, and I feel like it changes you. Anyone that's ever been through that, it's like molded you for the better or worse. Hopefully, it's like the better for you.
Yeah, so. I really think so. And I think there is a barrier, though, where if you spend a certain amount of time alone, I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
You're just fucked and you can't come back from it. And there are a lot of people there who cross that barrier, and it's just so fucking sad to see. It's just like, it's not right.
Now, I read that you were... Did you see Mike, the situation, or what was that interaction like? Were you in, like, how much of a relationship did you have with him, or even see him at all?
So one of the first jails I was at where I had the USB device.
Okay.
It was more of like a white collar prison.
Okay.
And obviously it didn't last very long there. Just kept getting sent to worse and worse places. But yeah, so he was at that jail. I think I was there for maybe 6 months before I got in trouble. So,
okay.
Yeah, didn't do
short-lived.
Well. Short-lived, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he like to. We were looking at some of the posts. I think he was talking about you and like what happened, and you know, with the recording device, and then he went to solitary confinement. Yeah. But that whole thing is kind of wild, man. It's not like you were there for 10 years. You got into trouble in like two years.
Yeah.
But hey, it's part of the experiences. But
don't do it, guys.
I appreciate the advice there.
Don't do it.
So now I guess I kind of moving now towards Fyre Festival, right? I know everyone is aware of kind of what the aftermath was, but I wanted to kind of ask you, you know, in the very, very beginning, what kind of inspired you to even come up with that kind of concept, something that really hasn't been done before? Where did that idea kind of originate for you?
I was finding, especially through the early days of Magnesis, when you took people from different backgrounds, you took your like computer programmer from New York, your model from LA, your fashion person from Miami, and brought them together on an experience that was outside what they would usually do. For example, landing a 1960s propeller plane on a remote island in the middle of nowhere. Like, it did this incredible job of bringing people together and creating relationships that were deeper than just like going to a bar downtown Manhattan on a Saturday night. So I was really obsessed with taking these different people on experiences that would push the boundaries.
Yeah.
And through this, just like totally fell in love with the Bahamas. And it started through what we called Magnesis Air at the time.
Okay.
And a handful of our members had small planes. It's like for hobbies on the side. And they were flying our members to these small islands of the Bahamas. And like, I totally fell in love with it. And the trips grew from a couple of Magnesis members up until what became some of the biggest talent in the world for Fyre Festival.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember that I think one time I came by. So I think I had access to one of your clubs through someone that I knew.
Okay.
And I remember that it was buzzing. Like I remember walking in, there was like couches. It was really cool. It was in the city. I don't know where it was in Soho. You'd probably be able to graphically map that out a little bit better. But you had a popular thing going on that generated a lot of hype for New York. It's almost like a black card experience. Is kind of like what you were doing, right? And exclusive. Like, I get a lot of perks from being like having an Amex, but like it almost felt like that when it didn't exist from an easy access point of view. Gave that to a lot of people, and I think that leverage that you built was like crazy because people never heard it. The minute that they like. A viral marketing effort like Fyre Fest was probably one of the most unique approaches to display what it could be like. Like the video that you guys produced and just showcasing what it was.
Yeah, the entire thing.
The whole thing. What inspired that? Was that like your vision?
Really what started was the physical Magnesis card. Okay. So I was in the second ever WeWork space back in like 2011 in downtown Manhattan, my first venture-backed company, enterprise software company. And I went to my 21st like birthday dinner, and this one girl threw down her like parents' Amex black card. We're all splitting the bill, and I'm there with my like shitty blue Chase card, like $200 on it. I'm like, fuck, like how can I be like this chick? And like, wasn't spending anywhere near the requirements for Amex. Like had no credit. I was a kid. I'm like, fuck it, I could just make my own. So went to Alibaba before Alibaba was like a mainstream thing. Bought a sheet of metal.
Oh my God.
Bought a piece of like magnetic tape, like literally tape that I could tape on the back of the metal.
Oh my goodness.
Bought a credit card copier, copied my Chase card. I'm in the WeWork right now, copied my Chase card onto it, go to the Diamond District in Manhattan, find a laser engraver to like write Billy McFarland, like Splink, CEO in the card.
No. You thought of all this?
So thought of all this. Went out to the nightclub that had been like giving me shit, for like as an underage kid. Dropped my card. Every bottle waitress who I was like drooling over was now like true to me like I was the king of the world. I went back to WeWork the next day. I'm like, all right, motherfuckers, $250. Who wants one of these things?
You're a savage. Wow.
started selling the cards like crazy. But it was a viral effect of the card because now every time someone bought the card, they didn't buy it for themselves. They bought it. So if the three of us are going out tonight, I make it a point that you guys see I had this cool card.
Yeah, it's a status.
And you're like, oh, wait, how can I get one too? So the card was so inherently viral. And I think that kind of started this idea of like, how can I make a product or a service that will sell itself and just like make noise?
Wow.
I think you achieved that. And that was kind of, that story is wild. I don't think I knew this.
No.
I mean, just the inception was pretty crazy. But that's the thing about being an entrepreneur, man. You got to think outside of the box. If you think there's a problem or an experience you're trying to relay, you got to get to that, no matter what the means are.
Dude, so many super smart people who want to be entrepreneurs just overanalyze so much. Yeah. You just don't fucking know until you get started. And 90% of the things you just figure out along the way. Like Magnesis, like we started selling cards and I'm like, oh wait, really cool people are buying these cards. How can I connect them? Let's go rent this like incredible townhouse, right? But like I never would think to open up a private clubhouse if I didn't make the cards first. So you just can't predict 10 steps ahead before you really have product market fit for your startup. And it just kills me when all these smart people try to predict the future. It's just not possible.
Dude, last night I had a consultation with this guy that's looking to build his, like he's an engineer, he's a coder, and he wants to go into this certain path. He wanted my advice and feedback on what he wanted to do. And a lot of the questions was like, I'm not going to name it, but a lot of the questions like were mostly, oh man, what if I run into this? What if I run into that? What if I do this? Like just stupid questions. I mean, there's no such thing as stupid questions, but more of like just fear operated questions. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I just said literally stop overanalyzing things. Just go and run with it. You fail, you fail. You learn from it. That's the whole purpose of this journey, right? And it's just a lot of people don't learn that. It's just the fear, that block that just
gotta go for it. You gotta,
yeah.
And like what Billy said, just gotta keep going and figure it out along the way. You know, you can't go to step 10 if you don't even take step 1.
Trying to predict future problems kills so many people and so many things. And like, if you're trying to predict a problem 5 years in the future, if you just like go and start operating, chances are that problem is going to solve itself before it actually manifests. So many businesses are killed by trying to predict what could be a challenge. So don't worry about what could be a challenge. Just worry about what the challenge actually is right now.
On that note though, like it's good to identify problems. It's good to kind of like maybe not predicting and seeing what you're going to do to solve it. I think it's good to identify that there is a problem that needs to be taken care of. Put that on the map for you, but don't let that be a blockage. Don't let that stop you from doing what you need to do, thinking that problem is going to be a big issue.
Agree.
You know? So it's a mindset thing, man. I mean, when we met, I was running my first startup, and it was called Revel, and we had a back and forth, and it was an event ticketing company. I don't know if you remember the particular details, but we were basically it was conceived from me relocating from Brooklyn to Staten Island to go to college, and not knowing anybody to network with, and I wasn't like a super extroverted person, and I wanted to find like the closest like parties, events, people that I can network with, and basically that was the idea that created, and then it evolved into a ticketing company. Nice. And then we generated sales, but the whole point behind that was just taking risks and just not worrying about the unknown, you know. And I'm sure that's all of our journey in a lot of ways.
For sure.
100%. So you just launched or just announced Fyre Festival 2. What are some of like the details about that? I had watched that you said it's maybe 18 months out or something like that. You want to talk more about that?
Yeah, so the first tangible announcement is going to be the Broadway show.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll be able to announce like partners and then general timeline for that soon. We're at the point now where Fyre Festival 2 was supposed to be this musical, and the announcement of that just created so much interest that like legitimate sovereign wealth funds or like large music festival companies have reached out, who all want to take the original vision of Fyre Festival with a tropical theme and make it a reality. So like there's no rush for us to announce that. We're taking things step by step, but it's like super cool and super grateful that there are like the biggest players in the world who wouldn't look at us like 7 years ago, who are now like, shit, you can't buy culture. And for better or worse, Fyre Festival 1 went down in history as this cultural moment. And no matter what happens for Fyre Festival 2, it is going to be part of pop culture. And like that is invaluable.
Dude, they made a documentary on you without you being a star in it. Like, I mean, that the amount of hype that it generated on its own, good or bad, is kind of wild. Let me ask you this. How would you do things differently with this, right? I mean, are you noticing a lot more institutional backing for this idea compared to when you first did it?
I think the two biggest things are, one, it's just like pure honesty. And it just like sounds corny. But when I started, at the point where I started lying to investors, I actually made things a lot harder. And I pushed away and scared away really smart people who actually want to help, who are like, wait, something's not right here, or he doesn't need our help. And I think that actually made me fail. And two is like realizing what I'm good at and what I suck at. And I'd rather be like the sharpest sword in the world for my skill set than it's like be mediocre at 100 things. So it's like, let me focus on that and just get help everywhere else.
So have you figured out what you're good at? What would you say that is? What is your strongest suit?
Getting attention and taking people to places that they never thought they can go without me.
Okay.
I like that. What were some of the things you told your investors?
That we were making a hell of a lot more money than we really were. And whether it was wrong, illegal, should have gone to jail, but hey, the sponsor's paying us $2 million and they weren't, or like our revenue was this and it wasn't. So it was
just a matter of time.
It was just like lying about the revenue.
So now I'm imagining, what was the first moment like when, let's say, you told that tale for the first time? What was there? Regret, fear, anxiety, or was it more just like, I'm just gonna keep it going, I'll figure it out along the way?
Totally fear. And I think like once you cross that line once, you keep pushing the line further and further until you're stopped. And I think we all know that's how, illegal actions take place, and it's just like, it's not worth it. And I had this mindset where it's like the only way that I'm going to get out of this alive is to make these investors rich and happy. And the only way to make them rich and happy is to make this festival work. And that's totally wrong, but that was like my one track mind with the inability to zoom out and like see the bigger picture of life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are there any misconceptions about Fyre Fest 1 on your role that you would maybe haven't cleared up or you'd like to?
So I think the first thing, which probably makes it worse what I did, is that everybody thinks I woke up one day, made a fake spreadsheet, and raised tens of millions of dollars. It doesn't work like that. You can take the smartest guy in the world, and he can like come out of nowhere with a fake spreadsheet. And no one's going to give him money. It was years of building relationships and being there for people, having people there for me. So when it came time to raise this money, they weren't going to question me to invest. They were happy to help me raise more capital, whatever it was. So I really abused relationships and trust and like years of togetherness to commit my crime. And I think like that's important to understand. And the second thing was the actual event itself like wasn't a scam. Like we certainly were not going to live up to what we marketed, but the hundreds of people who worked on it put everything they had into making the event work. The scam were the lies that I told by myself to the investors.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy, and it's admirable that you own up to this, man. I mean, that's step one, and also like I think it'll exponentially change the way you evolve and do things differently this time, because you recognize the problems, and we know we've been through our ups and downs over the last couple of years, so transparency is key, man.
Where are some of those relationships, right? Or did you see any of those kind of come back with the Broadway or with the 1.5 leading into 2, or a lot of them just kind of
it's really started to happen over the past couple of months.
That's that's awesome.
Yeah, people coming back. And it's kind of this weird thing where I think that the people who invested the larger amounts of money have been the most forgiving, which is like interesting. And the people who generally invested the smaller amounts are the ones who are like, fuck you.
It could be the people that invested large amounts of money. They just had too much money, man. Just didn't really have enough. That much. They have enough. I mean,
I think also the people, and then like this is something I've thought a lot about. I think the people who invested, millions of dollars, they've seen the highest level of successes, but they've also seen the highest level of people breaking like the moral codes. And while they didn't do it themselves, I think they've seen it happen before, and they understand how that doesn't define someone as a terrible person for their whole lives, and there is the opportunity to change that. Like what I did was not okay, but maybe I can come back from that and like do something good in my life.
I think like if I had to, and not to psychoanalyze anything, but I think it just got so big with the hype and what you were doing, you were consumed in it, man. And I think what you just said makes perfect sense. You just wanted to make the investors whole, and you saw it was off track, and the only way that you were going to do it is by putting something together within your capacity, even though if it was with lies. But the reality is like you've got that innate fire that makes you keep going, and you still, hopefully you still have that, right?
Sure. I think like, dude, persistence is everything, and everybody says it, but it's just so true. If you are like generally smart enough and you work really hard in an area where your success is not capped, you're going to be wildly successful, and like that's the formula. I
agree. Let's say giving advice to young entrepreneurs, people that are starting their own startups, how has your approach to business and entrepreneurship changed as a result of Fyre Fest, Magnesis, past ventures? I think you said something like you when I was reading up on some of your past ventures, I think when you were 13, you sold like a .com business. I could get their age wrong, but through all these years, right? 10 plus years now, I'd say, right? What's your approach now?
So I think the good trait that I always had, and like lesson I always believed, is as an entrepreneur, your number one job is don't stop moving. It's like you need to create your own momentum, and the only way you create momentum is by just like creating a tizzy of chaos and turning it into an actual business or actual success. So I think that is good. What I did wrong was not understanding the value of deep relationships and longevity. Like you need to not stop moving, but you need to be in a state where you can move for 40 years and not for 6 months. So
interesting.
Fyre Festival, it's like, hey, I announced this thing. We have 4 months to do it. I'm going to burn every fucking bridge in the world to make this thing work in 4 months. And that was the stupidest mindset ever. It's like, dude, I'm 24 years old. I have 40 years of business ahead of me. I need to be operating in a state that I can continue sustain for 40 years and not for 4 months. And like, as soon as you get yourself in that mindset, oh, I'll just get past this point. Okay, something is wrong. You need to stop and like figure out what you're doing wrong.
Let me ask you this. Picture yourself coming out of prison, doing time, but then the reception wasn't the way it is right now. Let's say there were no documentaries, no news articles, no platforms to go on because maybe it was completely opposite. So your biggest tool, your biggest asset, which was your voice, your marketing ability, your networking skills have disappeared. Have you thought about realities like that in prison? Because I feel like I would think, shit, what if I can't do this? What if I can't do that? Because not saying it made it easy for you, but it helps you definitely get a cleaner platform, right, to be able to do things from scratch. But let's say you didn't have that. Have you ever processed that?
It was actually way harder than I thought it would be. And I think in jail, I actually took the opposite approach where I was dreaming of all the good things that were going to happen. And I think I was not alone. And everybody in jail, no matter what their professional abilities were or weren't, it was like, oh, it's just if I can get outside of this fence, you know, and I'll be a millionaire, I'll be this, I'll be that. And like, then reality smacks you in the face. So I thought I would walk out and have like multi-million-dollar movie deals and book deals and like consulting jobs off the bat. And just like wasn't like that. And it took time to get there. And I'm still facing the challenge. It's gotten a lot better now, but it's like, hey, a big brand wants to work with me. And then there's like some 80-year-old guy in the board who's like, you know what? Like, this all sounds good, but we just can't take the risk right now. And like, you just get so close and like shut down to the last second. And it took a good 6 months to start breaking through on some of those deals.
Did Hulu ever pay you for that, Doc?
I was paid to interview for Hulu, not for Netflix.
Wow.
How come? How'd that happen?
So we actually sold footage to the Fuck Jerry guys to use in the Netflix doc. And the deal was they were supposed to give 11% of the documentary back to ticket holders. They used the footage and they just like threw the contract out and never used it. So that's what happened there. And then on Hulu, I was paid to interview and like, that was it. Yeah.
Okay. So at least you got some return there.
A little bit.
You know,
a little bit. But yeah, I was like, and I did it because I was on bail. I owe people money on bail. So whatever like Hulu paid me, 75 or 80% of it just like went to people I owed at the time. So
came
it's
in and went right out.
Yeah, didn't sit in the pocket for very long.
That's wild, man. I mean,
I'm very good at spending money.
Would you say you're still very good at spending money?
Of course, man. It's terrible.
We saw the video of you on the jet ski going to the office. So
it's a troll, dude. You're kind of a fucking troll, man. Like you tweeting about this, yeah, of course. Like I think you said something like, "Oh, for my jet ski money." I think you're just playing.
Yeah, I think
games.
Like if you're just genuine and like nice, no one fucking wants to hear that. And like it's like super super sad. And I'd come out and like go on an interview and like fresh out of jail and like generally express my remorse and my feelings. Be like, oh, fuck this guy, I don't give a shit. But as soon as they start like being more bombastic, I get 100K like retainers from brands and shit like that. Like people want that edge. So it's like, how can you maintain your moral code and like do things for the right cause, but have that edge and adventure to you? And I naturally have it, and I was suppressing it because I thought I had to. But now it's like, fuck it, like I'll be me and just like do the right thing along the way.
That's funny as hell, dude. You're jet skiing. How's your morning commute? I
was like, what the fuck, man?
But I guess on that note, while we kind of like move to the next thing, I mean, what advice, I guess, parting advice would you give to up and coming entrepreneurs to avoid making mistakes, like some of the biggest mistakes?
I think longevity, and I think the next biggest issue too, and Magnesis fostered this, was I was trying to be liked by a large number of people, and I didn't have a lot of close relationships. I had hundreds of very surface level relationships, and I feel like that just like isn't good for your development, especially as like a young 20-something-year-old in New York City. So I think it's finding a handful of relationships that you want to have for your entire life and developing those deeply. And I think like doing that while maintaining a business is just like super, super important.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
So you were court ordered $26 million in restitution.
Yep.
To pay back to investors, and then I think $300,000 plus to workers in the Bahamas.
Yes.
Right. That's basically part of the deal.
Yep.
And so first of all, like, how does that even work? Right. To like people that don't understand that, do you have to pay a set amount every year?
So,
or is it based on how much you make?
It's based on how much you make, and like if you're not making any money, then you pay like a nominal monthly fee. But as soon as you like get a job and you're earning, you pay a percentage of your income.
Okay.
And so you make $1,000, you pay X percent. You make $10,000.
Is that percentage set in the court?
I believe it actually I believe it can vary based on your income. So like I'm still kind of new into it, and all I know at this point is if like I'm traveling internationally for something, I have to pay a lot more than if I make it like locally. So I think there's different ways that the number can go up or down.
Okay.
Yeah. So just like learning, and have been paying since my sentence ended August 30th. So what, 9 months now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think you've paid off like a decent amount, no?
Paid like $40,000 so far. I know it's not a ton, but like
that's still a lot
for the first 9 months. It's something. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, how do you plan on executing that? Is that going to be bearing over your head long
I think
term?
the reality is like it's just like not possible to pay that off on like a salary, right? Like if you're paying X percent of some salary, you're not going to be paying $26 million. Like it's not tax deductible. So it's like 52 million, like, you know, before taxes and like times whatever the salary needs to be. So it's not practical. I think it's like more about just like doing the right thing and demonstrating how important it is to me to get something back. But it is going to take like building and scaling a business. So whether it's 7 years, 15 years, 20 years, or never, that's what it will take to pay that number back. So I think like I've been looking at the numbers. There's like maybe like 1 or 2% of people in this position ever pay back the restitution. And like I'd love to be the 1%er that actually pays back his restitution in full. And I feel like that's a really cool.
What happens if you don't?
As long as you're paying back fairly and honestly based on what you're earning, then you're okay. Like no one could force you to make, you know, $100 million. That's not possible. So it's like, it's all just based on whatever your income is.
Okay.
That's crazy, man. I mean, that's really good to know. But are you able to leave the country?
I need permission to do so.
Okay.
So like it would have to be for work and a significant like dollar amount to do it.
And I mean, so coming out, I feel like I'd be in a different planet. For 4 years. Do you like the landscape we're in? Like not just influencer. I'm talking about social media, technology. Yeah. Does this give you more ideas? How do you feel? Like I want to know your like from your mind. Like when you're coming out, you're kind of locked in, and then you had no contact with family, friends.
So I went to solitary right, like I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months after COVID hit, and then was there for 7 months, and like this is the second time, and just got out, and someone had just reported to the jail off the street, and he was telling me about this new phenomenon called OnlyFans. And like, I couldn't believe it. He's like, yeah, Tiger's on there too. I'm like, what? Really? Like, and he was like, I must have been like talking to a grandpa for him because I was like so in shock about like how in the 7-month period plus the handful of months of COVID, like did the world change like this? And then I remember the first thing I did when I got home was I started looking at all these girls up I used to know, and I'm like, they're all on OnlyFans. Like, what the fuck has happened to this world?
No way.
So,
you probably saw people that you knew that were on.
Yeah, like that was one culture shock, and then I think like the whole wokeness thing, certainly since 2016 to 2023 is like taken on a new life of its own. I think it's like gone way too far, and I think that a lot of my peers have adapted to this mentality where they're like, "Hey, I'm smart and I work hard, and therefore I deserve to be this." And that's not the way the world works. Like I can play basketball 18 hours a day, but I'm not gonna be LeBron James, right? And like that's like fine. Like the world is not fair. And just because you're smart, just because you work hard, doesn't mean that you deserve to have something that someone on Instagram has, right? Like we all can't be Jeff Bezos or LeBron James. Like it's just not possible.
Dude, and the landscape change of just the censorship, man. You definitely noticed the change,
it's
right?
All fucked up, yeah. And like, dude, I saw it in jail. Like, I get on the podcast, I literally apologize, and they tried to send me to a terrorist facility where you're totally separated from the rest of the world.
Jesus,
no way.
It's pure. It's censorship, right? It's like, it's just like it's crazy, and obviously seeing what's happened to other people with much larger platforms than mine, so it's scary and it's wild.
Wow, where did you go? Like, where did they put you?
I was in a jail in Ohio when I did the podcast, and they transferred me to a jail like outside of Detroit in Michigan.
Why over there?
In Milan, Michigan. I think they basically keep sending you further from home every time you get in trouble. So you're just like a little kick west every time.
Oh my goodness,
that's crazy. I mean, like, were you like taught? You're a single dude. You're not married.
No, not married.
Okay. So obviously everyone was like devastated.
Yeah. And
that must be like hard, kind of coming back, but also kind of celebratory. Making that early. Wait, how did you get out early?
So everybody in the federal system gets 15% off what they call like good time.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's basically like a year. And I lost a couple months for getting in trouble for the USB device.
Okay.
And then Trump passed something called the First Step Act when I first got to jail.
Okay.
And that gives people like first-time nonviolent offenders up to a year off as well.
Okay.
And I thought it was like bullshit. And I woke up one day, they called me and like, McFarland, fuck you, you got a year off. I'm like, what, really? Like, I thought it was a joke. And then,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I got out.
What was one of the first things that you did when you got out? Like
So I went to a halfway house. So I had 5 months of like a halfway house sentence, which is like a physical halfway house in New York, and then they sent you to home confinement with an ankle monitor. So I was like at the halfway house home confinement for a combined 5 months. So I wasn't really free. So I had that 5 month period where I was like still incarcerated, but like not behind bars. I think like once my ankle monitor came off, I missed the ocean the most. So I just like went swimming. Like
really?
Yeah, that was like the number one thing I missed.
How was the food?
Terrible.
How bad though?
So for the first 2 years, I ate out of a mop bucket, like a yellow janitor's bucket, and the guys would like take like the TV power cords and turn them into fryers. They like plug into the wall and like put a hot. Who the fuck knows how they did it? And like they'd fry food out of a mop bucket. So I'm sure I'm like harvesting a lot of cancer on me right now. And then after that, for like the last 2 years, I ate out of a clothes iron. They like steal a clothes iron and use it to make like quesadillas on your like in your jail cell. So
okay, that's not
not as bad.
That's not the mop bucket. I mean, that I can imagine.
Yeah, the mop bucket.
That's
the mop bucket
brutal.
fryer is definitely destroyed my body.
Oh my goodness! Do you remember the first thing you ate when you got out? I mean, how good was that food?
Yeah, it was good. I went to some like I had to drive from Detroit jail to the halfway house in New York. So I stopped at some like country diner in like bumfuck Ohio. And had like a cheeseburger, and that was amazing.
What? That was the first thing you ate?
Yeah.
Dude, that's like you watch Iron Man, the first movie?
No.
The first Iron Man, he comes out of that Al-Qaeda cave.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want a cheeseburger. Yep. That's literally the first thing. The first thing.
Did you know what they did in jail too? And like now with all the COVID shit, it's interesting. We obviously weren't allowed to have outside food, so they bribed us and said, if you get your like COVID vaccine, we'll give you half of a Little Caesar's pizza. And like let you watch a movie. So we all got it basically, right? So we had 4 slices of like a Little Caesar's pizza. So that was like the one time I did have outside food in jail. That shit was fucking terrible. I never had that stuff before.
Bribing you to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
With
So we got like
pizza. Wow.
but like they sell them online for like $5 each, right? So we got like a $2.50 Little Caesar's pizza.
Oh my
for the
god!
vaccine. And to us, that was like gold, right? Like
I feel like
De Blasio saying, "Look at this cheeseburger."
Just treating us like
cheeseburger.
Yeah, exactly. Treating us like such like little idiot kids, right? It's like, all right, kids, like take this vaccine.
Slice of pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny.
So funny.
I feel like if I were in and I want, the first thing I'd probably be craving would be like my bed, man.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. You just wanted a cheeseburger, but like I feel like I'd be sick of food, the shitty food I'd be having in prison that I wouldn't want to see food.
Dude, I like bought this like new mattress and I was so excited.
Yeah.
And for like the first 3 or 4 nights, I thought it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
What?
And it was like this like
just getting used to it.
Yeah, it's getting used to it. It's like hadn't been in a bed in 4 years.
Used to like the hard whatever.
Yeah, and I get them like, oh, this just sucks. Like and like literally I thought it was terrible. And now obviously it's great, but yeah.
I mean that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
You're
it was like a weird mental thing. It's like this like obviously is better than what I had, but it just like feels so much worse. I couldn't sleep.
I mean your body was conformed to that for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
How was the first couple days when you went in?
It was bad. So I had my bail revoked and I was taken to the detention center in Brooklyn, which is like a rough place.
Okay.
And that was definitely like the most violent out of all the places I was at. It had every security level and people who like didn't get bail. So like it wasn't your average like.
Yeah, they're upset a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't your average guy. Like, it was definitely a rough crew in there. So that was like a huge culture shock for me.
Did you have any issues with like? Did you get into any fights or any sort of situations where it's like, I need to be careful here, or else I don't know what will happen after?
So when I first got to Brooklyn, I just didn't respect the like prison rules.
Okay.
And that's basically like paying honor to like your race and like doing what they say and like sitting in certain seats and like fuck that. Like I'm not sitting with you guys. And like
okay.
Yeah, I was taught pretty early on that that's one thing you have to do.
Did you get into physical like fights? And
so I pissed off the white guys in Brooklyn. And
okay.
They came to basically show me what I was doing what was wrong. And I had an Indian cellmate. Not Native American Indian, like from India, yeah.
Okay.
And he basically went and like fought them for me without me knowing.
No way.
No way.
Yeah. So that was wild.
That's pretty. Well, is he still in?
He's still in jail. He's they had a 14-year sentence for fraud. And
damn,
great guy. And he was like 7 years in. He was like,
shit.
He's back in Brooklyn to like appeal it. He lost his appeal, and I wasn't sentenced yet. And he's like, listen, like if you get into a fight before you get sentenced, you're gonna get more time. And so he's like, he just like did the fight for me. And that was crazy. So
wow.
Did he win?
His head was definitely all stabbed up a little bit, but he was otherwise he was okay.
Jeez,
but it was crazy.
Man.
I was like, but like once he did that, it's like, oh shit, like, you know, people get hurt for this stuff. This is not a game.
No, you could die in there, bro. Yeah. They could like stab you.
But guys who have life sentences, which people did in Brooklyn, it's like you have nothing to lose at that point. Like, this is my chair. This is all I have left. And if you don't fucking obey that, like,
we're gonna see.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
I feel like you're never gonna forget that guy.
No, yeah. But his name is Patel.
Patel?
Yeah.
Hey, shout out Patel, man.
Shout out Patel, I guess.
Shout out Patel for giving you that level of protection. That's crazy. Also, like, kind of gives you a reality check right away. Yeah. Like, oh shit, this is real now, right?
It's crazy, just different world, and it's super sad too. 'Cause it's like it's just like lack of education and like lack of exposure, and like, you know, if you just like take someone away from society for so long, you just can't blame them for not understanding how things have progressed.
I honestly am surprised, but also respect about like how like solid it seems you were, even though like the solitary confinement, you know, for me, it's just like I can't even really imagine going for that long just in that box for 23 hours a day. You know, I guess like you mentioned, either breaks you or kind of makes you stronger. You know,
it's super tough. Yeah.
I'd love to shift focus into
what's next,
the business world here a little bit, and I guess right now you're working on Pirate.
Yep.
And I guess like from what I've seen online, it's called a virtual, or used to be called a virtual immersive decentralized reality. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but what is it exactly to anyone that doesn't know, and how does it differ from past ventures?
Yeah, so the festival was really trying to accomplish this goal of taking people to a place that they couldn't get without me. And I wrongly tried to do that by bringing, you know, X thousands of people to some island of the Bahamas. So what Pirate's all about is like, how can we do that, but do it through technology on a large scale, and then do it physically on a smaller scale. And building technology now, and then it's also kind of morphed into a marketing agency where a lot of brands are coming to us saying, hey, like, how can we cut through the noise and just like get attention on our product? So half of Pirate's time it's the marketing aspect, the other half of the time is building technology to try to take people to these places virtually, and hopefully that can assist whether it's Fyre Festival 1.5 or Fyre Festival 2, and be like a nice add-on layer for whatever is next.
How is it progressing so far? Like, where are you in that process?
It's like getting crushed on the marketing side. I think like
the market right now is horrible.
It just like took a while to get above water, and so I took on a lot of marketing jobs, and like doing a lot there, doing a lot in the media side. I'm going to take like a Muay Thai kickboxing fight at some point this summer too. So like,
I saw
just
you
doing a lot of
say
shit.
that.
Yeah.
Who did you say that you wanted to fight potentially?
I think I have an opponent now. And
Wait, can you say?
I can't say who it is yet, but like hopefully in a couple of weeks. But like someone called our team. It's like, hey, we want to call him out, and like we'll agree to this, and this, and like
it's like a celebrity fight.
If it's a bill, yeah, he's out there.
Wait, Muay Thai?
Muay Thai, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
You're
so I'm kind of excited for that. I feel like for like a one-time life challenge, it's like super fun and interesting.
I mean, this is what like prison does to you, dude. You just a badass when you come out. You're down to fucking do celebrity fights. And you know,
exactly.
Are you training for that?
Sorry, 1 second.
There you go.
No, you're good. I would imagine it would be something like boxing.
Muay Thai is
so it's like I've been training Muay Thai, and it's like my boxing's not that great, but my kicks are pretty good. So the guy that challenged me is kind of like, you know, kind of like a roid head, you know, celebrity type guy. So I'm like, fuck, like,
is he bigger?
I think he's my size. He could probably outbox you. I'm just like hoping that he can't learn how to take a kick in like 2 months. I'm like, I'm banking on that. It's like I'm just gonna destroy his legs and his like his body until he just falls over.
Dude, I love that you're sending it though. Like it's kind of it's wild that you're
incredible, dude. Incredible.
So do you have a team for Pirate right now?
Yeah, we team. There's 10 of us. Kino is here. Kino does our content. But yeah, nice. we have 10 guys, office in the city, so like kind of getting back to life and trying to commute to my jet ski to work every day. So as you guys saw online.
How's it been starting to build a team again? You've enjoyed that experience?
It's actually been so much more fun this time. And I think before I was certainly the root cause of the problems, but I was trying to take shortcuts to fame, success, and everything that came along with it. And I was attracting people who wanted to take those shortcuts too. So I was the worst guy, but I was also attracting bad guys who didn't want to put in the work and just wanted the results.
Yeah.
And this time around, it's very clear to anybody with half a brain that I need to climb a giant mountain to achieve any level of success.
Yeah.
So the people who are willing to take that on have a completely different mindset than the group I had last time. And it's like kind of cool. And I think there's this overall theme in life where you just meet the best people when you're fighting against the biggest challenges.
I mean, yeah, I feel like you attract the type of energy that you're on, and that's
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So if that is off aligned, then you're not really going to get the right type of people that can kind of get on your same wavelength.
Yeah,
so that's cool, man. 10 people is pretty solid. I guess, like, do you have like an agenda, like starting this, because essentially this was starting from scratch, right?
Yeah, totally starting from scratch.
Like this, you came out. I mean, how many months did it take you to kind of get this up and running?
It took probably 3 or 4 months to be able to survive through it.
And you basically created and formulated this entire new venture idea in prison.
Yep.
Correct?
I have a business partner who, he actually worked at the venture firm that invested in my first company like 12 years ago now.
Okay.
So he was my age. He was taking a semester like away from school to work at the venture firm.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had met. We never were really super close. And right before I got to jail, like after Fyre, we got back together. And he supported me throughout prison. So he's my business partner now. He's like an incredible guy.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, built it together. But like literally in the second solitary stint, I'm like writing names down on paper and like wrote the name down Pirate, and like that's it. Now we're off to the races.
It's a cool name, and it's very synonymous with what you've done in the past.
I was just gonna say, any significance to that?
Like one of the early, so the first 2 books I read in Brooklyn were Mike Tyson's memoir and the Steve Jobs autobiography. I think the quote's pretty famous, but Steve Jobs' quote that I'd rather be a pirate than join the Navy, like that really stuck with me. And I like back in solitary, like I was out of books, like thinking about like what I want to call the next thing. So I'm kind of thinking about that quote. I'm like, oh, I like pirate, and like let's stick with the Fyre theme of changing it to a Y.
Yep.
PYRT.
I think it's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
And it's
Short
catchy.
and sweet. Short and sweet.
So I mean, what's next for you, man? I guess, like, I know this is the main focus. What's the goal? The goal is to kind of get to that point. I like the way you put it earlier, which is 1 to 2% of people that ever pay out full restitution.
So number one goal is like, let's be a 1%er, and 1%er is that I'm going to be like the one of 100 that pays back my restitution in full. And I think that's really cool. I think the next thing for me too is, before I really like go all in on a long-term technology project, it's getting some wins under my belt. Okay. And that's going to be the Broadway show. That might be Fyre 2.0. Once again, these are things all handled by the partners. It's marketing work. It's some TV shows. Maybe it's a Muay Thai knockout. So it's like getting some little wins done first, and then kind of like taking our time with the technology and not rushing it when we get there.
If you had Warner Brothers or someone produce or do a movie on you, and maybe they can listen to this and bring this to life, who would you envision playing you?
So I've been pitched by so many sleazy like movie people.
Okay.
And
really,
what's so funny is they all have the exact same sales approach.
Okay.
Where it's like, we envision like this guy playing you, and they always pick some like A-list actor who like they have no idea how to get in touch with.
Yeah.
So it's funny you like ask that from a
common
consumer
thing.
standpoint, but that's the number one line they always pitch you with.
No, Billy, secretly I'm trying to make a movie.
Exactly. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Like I've heard every fucking name. Like they try to play to your ego. It's like, oh, who do you think is the perfect for you? Like,
so screw what they say.
Yeah.
Who do you want?
Dude, I have no idea. Like I'm just like not a movie guy. I don't know.
You're not?
The person they actually are speaking with for the Broadway musical is interesting. I can't say who it is, but like you know, interesting person. So like that's kind of cool to see. I think the people who are doing it are like super high quality. So
that's good.
And see if it comes to fruition with that actor, but we'll see.
Maybe we can squeeze it out of you off the cams.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, man, that's awesome. That's super cool. That's I just thought that you're in a different vertical now too. It's not just what you did before with like marketing and technology, and it's also just now this, which is like a whole media side to it.
It's about the people too, man. It's like just like growing with the group is everything, and it's just more fulfilling to have 10 people who you love to work with and like know you're going to work with in 10 years than 200 people who are like yes men who all just want to be rich and famous. Like that fucking sucks, and I didn't see that before.
How's it? So have you heard from the Fiji water guy?
I have. Okay. So yeah,
interesting.
I spoke. What day is today? I spoke to Andy like 3 days ago.
Did you really? Yeah, so you're in good terms with him?
Yeah, and he's doing well.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
wow,
he's a great guy. I mean, he obviously busted his ass to try to make Fyre One work in every sense of the word. He's great.
He's a ride or die guy, dude.
Yeah, he will definitely be around for as much as we can for whether it's the Broadway show or any other iteration of things to come.
Oh, it's sick.
That's unreal.
Well,
that's unreal.
you know, as we kind of like wrap up, anything that you feel like that people should know, or anything that that you'd like to say? Oh,
I guess just like curious to talk about like the podcast game for a second too.
Yeah.
I think I get a lot of questions now about like how to get onto a podcast, and it's kind of like riffing out loud here, but there's been a lot of these like sleazy PR companies or whatever. They'll charge like a 6-month retainer and promise to like get you on all these shows. And a lot of entrepreneurs have been asking me this like in DMs for the past week. I've kind of been giving the same answer. I think like instead of like hiring these PR companies or whatever it is, just go and like pay someone interesting to hang out with you for a weekend and do something crazy, and now you become the story.
Yeah,
and they want you. So, and like I think 100%. You've seen this done at a high level, but like, dude, just go fucking hire some like wild celebrity and like go to some remote island or like place for a weekend.
Just do something cool.
Yeah, instead of paying $100,000 to some PR company for 6 months, like go pay somebody else, do something that no one's done before, and now the topic is about you. So, at every entrepreneur asking me what PR company to hire, fuck them, just go do something really interesting instead.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah.
100%. And I think what you said, I'm sure like we've both experienced hiring companies like this in the past. It's like a slow burn when you get these companies, but like because your mind is just so like focused on like the most viral strategies and things like that. So that makes sense. I mean, that's if you want to be making ripples and waves, that's exactly
it's all about telling a story. And you need to make yourself the story. Like no one is going to make you the story for you. I don't care how good the PR firm is. I don't care how good your marketing person is. Like make yourself the story. And the way to be the story is to go someplace most people haven't gone before.
Would you do anything differently? Like,
oh, for sure.
Would you take things back or redo? Because I mean, I feel like you're in a different place now that these experiences have changed the way you do business or handle things. I think you're going to do bigger and crazier things. But
I think like selfishly, I'm in a better spot than I was before. However, people were hurt, right? And like you can't weigh the selfish gain over the pain cost to others. So like I would change it for sure.
That's awesome.
Well, Billy, appreciate you coming down. We know that you got a lot on your plate right now, and do you have anything else you want to kind of close out with here, or
no? It's pretty much it. We'll drop your links and everything else in the bio, descriptions, anything you wanna share. You want us to post, like just.
I think we do a follow-up episode from Fyre too. So
hey,
that sounds good.
Love that.
So get the gear mobile, boys.
Love that. I mean, and we're local too, so like, we're planning on staying around here for a while, and also. We love having you, man. This was great, and hopefully we were able to share some stories. I know you've been all over the place, and we appreciate you making time.
Yeah, thank you. Great setup you guys have here, and excited to check this one out.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And
as we kind of outro here, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you tuning in. And no matter where you are, day or night, we'll see you next time. Enjoy.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.